Hello, and welcome back to Geopolitics Worldwide. In 2022, Vladimir Putin made a high-stakes gamble that jeopardized over a third of Russia's federal budget by using energy as a weapon in his international strategy surrounding the invasion of Ukraine. His goal was to use Russia's dominance in European energy supplies to blackmail Europe into staying out of the conflict. However, this decision has backfired dramatically and continues to haunt Russia with long-term consequences that threaten the viability of its economy and even the future of the Russian Federation itself. Today, Russia is struggling to find enough buyers in the global market to sustain its budget and, in some instances, even its energy infrastructure. Compounding the problem, Ukrainian military attacks have damaged some of Russia's energy production facilities, forcing Russia, a global energy powerhouse, to do the unthinkable: import refined oil from other countries. The ramifications of this go deeper than most realize. To understand how this situation unfolded, it's essential to go back to the start of the invasion. Russia's initial plan was for a quick operation, anticipating it would capture most, if not all, of Ukraine within weeks. Putin likely envisioned something similar to Germany's blitzkrieg during World War II, quickly gaining control and then stabilizing the geopolitical landscape. Achieving this would not only expand Russia's territory and influence, but also have tangible economic benefits for the Russian elite. By capturing Ukraine, Russia would have eliminated its biggest potential competitor in the European energy market. Ukraine's untapped energy fields and crucial pipelines that connected Russian energy supplies to European markets posed a significant threat to Russia's long-term energy dominance. Controlling Ukraine would have secured Russia's future as a leading energy supplier and funneled massive profits to the oligarchs who support Putin. It was an audacious plan, evil but bold. However, Putin also needed to keep Europe and the US out of the conflict. Just as Germany needed to keep Britain neutral in World War II, Putin hoped to neutralize Europe by exploiting its dependence on Russian oil and gas. If European nations opposed Russia's invasion of imposed sanctions, Putin believed he could retaliate by cutting off energy supplies, essentially holding Europe's economy hostage. Putin's strategy hinged on the idea that cutting off energy to Europe would either force the continent into submission or at the very least make them take a minimal role in supporting Ukraine. This would buy Russia time to complete its mission, stabilizing the geopolitical situation and then resume energy exports to Europe. The temporary financial losses Russia would incur by halting exports would be outweighed by the long-term gains from controlling Ukraine's energy resources and infrastructure. On paper, this plan might have seemed feasible. In reality, it failed spectacularly. The invasion, which Putin expected to last only weeks, has stretched into years, with Russia managing only limited success on the battlefield. While Russia did disrupt Europe's energy supplies, Europe still has sanctioned Russia and provided substantial support to Ukraine. Moreover, Russia's attempts to blackmail Europe by cutting off energy supplies didn't yield the results Putin hoped for. By the time Russia was likely anticipating resuming energy exports to Europe, the war was still raging, and Ukraine was still resisting. Whereas for Russia, Europe had significantly diversified its energy sources and reduced its reliance on Russian oil and gas. Instead of facing a temporary financial shortfall, Russia now finds itself staring down a permanent economic crisis. The energy revenue it expected to regain has now been replaced by imports from other countries, including the United States and Norway, the two of Russia's biggest geopolitical rivals. The money that once filled Russia's coffers is now enriching its enemies. Russia is not only losing its market share, but also watching as its adversaries profit in its stead. Russia's situation became even more precarious when considering its reliance on the East, specifically China and India. Facing a collapse in its European market, Russia turned to the two populous, energy-hungry nations as a fallback. On the surface, this should have been a viable strategy. Both China and India are rapidly developing nations with massive energy needs. It's possible that Russia's confidence in these potential customers contributed to its decision to gamble so heavily with Europe. However, China and India, far from being Russia's allies, have exploited the situation for their own benefit. Knowing Russia's desperation, they've dictated the terms of their energy deals, demanding steep discounts in exchange for keeping Russia's economy afloat. An example of this is the Power of Siberia 2 natural gas pipeline, which would supply a quarter of China's annual natural gas needs. Russia, desperate to replace its lost European market, began construction on its side of the pipeline before China had even agreed to build its portion. This was a crucial mistake, as it gave China leverage in negotiations. In return, China has made harsh demands, including a request to receive gas at the same subsidized price that Russian consumers pay, a price so low that Russia would barely turn a profit. China's aggressive bargaining over the pipeline is a reflection of a larger power shift. Russia, which once wielded incredible and considerable influence through its energy exports, is now at the mercy of its customers, with China and India exploiting the situation for all it's worth. Worse, Russia doesn't have many other options. Having alienated Europe, it's forced to make increasingly costly investments just to maintain its current energy infrastructure. In the cold, harsh conditions of Siberia, idle energy equipment decays rapidly, and the cost of maintaining or restarting production after a long shutdown grows exponentially over time. Russia's energy sector is traditionally a harvest and export economy, without significant capacity for long-term energy storage. With European markets lost and Chinese and Indian markets demanding unfavorable terms, Russia's energy facilities have sat idle for nearly 2 years, reaching storage capacity. As a result, much of the infrastructure has deteriorated, and the cost of repairs and maintenance will be astronomical when the country finally attempts to restart production. And the situation gets even worse. Ukraine has strategically targeted Russian oil refineries, which were some of the few remaining outlets for domestic energy production. These refineries have been hit by drone attacks, leading to devastating fires. Not only does this disrupt Russia's ability to meet its energy needs, but it also sends a clear message about the vulnerability of Russian assets. With key refineries offline, Russia has been forced to import refined oil from Belarus, further highlighting the dire state of its once dominant energy industry. The broader implications of these developments are profound. Russia's diminished role in global energy markets severely reduces its ability to influence international politics and eliminates its leverage to blackmail Europe in future conflicts. With its European customers gone and its remaining customers exploiting its weakness, Russia's economic power is fading rapidly. This is a particularly devastating instance for a country that has relied on oil and gas for nearly 45% of its federal budget, with 83% of those exports historically destined for Europe. When those exports ceased, Russia lost a third of its government funding. Without a viable alternative, Russia's economy faces a grim future. To understand what might come next, one can look to the past. In 1853, after Russia's defeat in the Crimean War, the country's finances were so drained that it was forced to sell Alaska to the United States. Today, a similar fate could await Russia, as its financial situation continues to deteriorate. Some speculate that Russia might even be forced to cede portions of Siberia to China, a possibility that, on a small scale, may already be occurring. The energy gamble that was meant to secure Russia's future has done the exact opposite, plunging the country into a deepening crisis with no clear way out.